Here we are. We're back live again. Take two. The horses are probably, you're probably going to see the horses at some stage wandering around in the background with us. It's
they were a bit naughty.
Well, it wasn't their fault though. We need to really stress that it wasn't their fault. For some reason, we've worked out that streaming live really does take a lot of energy from not just the world around us, but basically when you stream through Zoom onto Facebook, it takes a lot of energy from my computer. So my computer that was fully charged ended up being empty. So anyway, here we are back again with the beautiful Lisa from Believe Equine. Equine. What does equine even mean?
Horses.
Okay, there you go. See, you can see how much of a horsey person I am. I know nothing. Equine training and coaching. So we talked a bit about the training side of it. How about you share a little bit more about the coaching side of it? What does the coaching side mean, Lisa?
So
excuse me.
The coaching it's got two parts to it. One is working with people with their own horses for confidence, and teaching them how to train their own horse to get an emotionally stable reaction from the horse in any circumstance that make you uncomfortable. So then the other part is coaching people with my horses using herd philosophies and horsemanship philosophies to blend together. Hey, there's the Truman.
There's the Truman. He was one of the horses with us earlier.
To blend how our authentic self, say, would work in society. So your authentic self versus society and how you might come together. It'd be the herd philosophies versus horsemanship.
Right.
I use a really diverse herd. So I have the 5 horses, but they are all varied breeds and sizes and acquired them all sorts of different ways.
And does that matter?
No.
As we obviously have proven.
Yeah, and that lesson itself on how diversity works in my herd is something that, you know, people find metaphor after metaphor in their lives, that diversity can be a good thing, particularly if you're talking about team building or leadership. They really, really give a good or demonstrate well how that can be successful if you just drop your expectations and look at what's going on directly in front of you. That's kind of how I see them working.
So there would have to be a lot of trust in that, Lisa. Is that what you're doing? Are you actually building up the trust between the client and us?
I don't do it myself. I do. I suppose you could say I maybe facilitate it, but people still make their own choices whether they want to be in the paddock with the horse, so they'd prefer to sit and watch or whatever it is they do. There's no pressure put on anyone to participate in any particular way, especially if it's a workplace coming out to do team building or leadership. It's really obvious to me some people are not keen to be forced into something.
Yep.
But the good thing about it is, as they watch what goes on, their confidence builds just from seeing that they're in a safe environment and they're not going to be forced into anything they don't want to do.
Okay.
All the decisions are theirs. All I do is offer guidance or activities for them to work out what they want to do, and maybe facilitate a conversation around it later so that they can think through their own scenarios that they can see the resemblance in, and they always come up. People have got things going on, it always comes up because that's what's in front of their mind.
Yeah, okay. So that's really interesting in itself, in the fact that you know, I really can see how this works together with spiritual work.
Yes.
And it's very much about really looking in, and what we were talking about earlier in part 1, we were talking about going in within. And so that in itself is really interesting, because are you saying the horse actually brings that without? They actually bring that stuff that you've got stuck down in there that's affecting you mentally or physically, and often mentally, that you're blocking, and the horse can help you see that.
That is a good way of describing it, yeah. So what you and I can, or maybe you're a little bit more intuitive than I am, hence the intuitive souls.
But we're all intuitive, remember?
Excuse me.
Bless you.
COVID,
no, I'm just joking. We're all intuitive. However, some of us just choose to use it more often. And
that's exactly what the horses are way more attuned to us, to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's a long held belief that they are all connected, same as in some people, communities, people think people and everything is connected. So their intuition is spot on. But the other thing is they reflect what you're feeling inside by responding appropriately. For example, if I look at some of my clients, they look kind of happy to be there and keen, but the horses don't want to go near them because subconsciously or internally, they're putting out something that the horses are attuned to, that's saying, well, if you don't want me there, I'm not coming over.
Oh, wow.
And then other times I think people aren't that keen and the horses are all over them. It fascinates me.
So was that I wasn't so keen? Is that why they were all over me?
No. Well, I think you were quite comfortable.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, they probably would have stood on the other side of the round yard and gone, all right, I get it, I'm not coming.
Isn't that funny? And yet they were very much feeling at home with me, which was really lovely.
The other thing they do is one of them tends to pick somebody.
Oh.
Sometimes one horse will be in everybody's face one day and the next day they don't want to be over there, and a different horse decides that whichever person it is, that maybe they could help them or whatever it is. They seem to pick the people.
That's truly amazing, isn't it? Like when you think about that. And I guess in lots of ways that's like most animals, isn't it? We know that I know with dogs, like I love dogs. But a dog will always know, won't they, if that person is frightened straight away. They will. I guess that's no different, is it?
And I do wonder whether it's our body language that's so subtle we don't get it.
Yeah.
Because our words and our body language, sometimes they match and sometimes they don't. Yeah. And they seem to react appropriately more on what you're thinking than what you're saying.
I just think it's incredible. Like, as we know, I'm a psychic medium. I connect direct to spirit. I just love the way Lisa, though, and that's how I pick people and through my life coaching. But Lisa's actually using horses to bring out the best in people, or to actually see what you may have inside that could be a blocker for you moving forward in your life. And obviously and then because you do life coaching as well too, don't you?
Well, kind of. It's a coaching kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a bit of that holistic.
Yeah. Because
how to move forward. Coaching.
So once you actually once you draw out from people those things that are blockers, we'll call them, you can then work together continually with the horse, because a lot of your people aren't one-off clients. They come back, don't they?
Yeah. I was running a program. I did a program for women probably a year or two ago now, where they came back for 8 sessions as a group. They not only made fantastic friendships, but they worked through a whole lot of stuff that at the time they didn't even know they needed, which was really interesting to be told later, to be thanked later for setting them up for a crisis that they didn't know was coming, that they had tools they had never had before. And that was a lot about, confidence, to not take things personally. It's not always about you.
Yes. Sometimes we get caught in that poor me scenario, or, oh, but that happened. And well, actually, it wasn't even about you. So back it up.
Yeah. And then you get clear on your personal values and start to live your life around them and setting your boundaries based on those. Even with the horse is difficult, as we found out before.
But they weren't difficult. They were inquisitive, I would think.
They were, but your own boundaries are difficult. As in,
well, you can see that I don't set many boundaries. I think that's what that showed me more than anything else, because I was just letting them do what they wanted, and they knew that.
Yep. And that's exactly the problem, because all of a sudden you get to a point where you can't cope with that anymore.
Yeah.
And you've actually been teaching them the whole time that it's okay because you haven't set them early enough.
Yeah. Yep.
So a horse is a good indication of what happens in other parts of your world. That aside, it's still just fun to come out and kind of play and pat and do whatever.
Yeah. And to have 5 of them, but they must take it. That must be a lot of effort there and cost.
It is a lot of effort and cost, and that's partially not the effort, but the cost is partially why I decided to use them to help other people.
Perfect.
Because then they
bring a return.
Yeah, they pay for themselves, and I get to keep them, and I get to share them, which is like, it's so joyful to share them.
Do you have a favourite?
I'm not allowed to say, because it's like your children. You don't have a favourite child, but in this case, I would say Chucky, my bay quarter horse, who brought me on this journey.
He's the old one. He's 19, isn't he?
Yeah.
Lisa and I were chatting earlier, and she was saying that I'll let you tell the beautiful story. So how did you acquire a horse? What made you go down the horse journey?
So I used to ride a little bit when I was younger. I had chronic eczema and allergies, so I was never allowed to own my own. As soon as I was old enough, I bought one, and I played a bit with that, and then moved on from that into life. I met my husband, in my early 30s, so I had my children probably later than most would, well into my 30s.
Doesn't matter.
And then I was sort of lost in that. I had been an independent person with a career, and all of a sudden I was a wife and mother and didn't feel like I was anything else. So my husband, God bless his cotton socks, bought me a horse, and the horse was a 3-year-old green broke quarter horse, which is Chucky, who I still have. So it was really green horse, green rider, and it didn't work particularly well. In fact, I did spend a Valentine's Day in emergency with my husband.
Oh, no. What? Oh, you'd come off the horse?
Yeah. I was distracted and not in the present moment, and the horse made a decision that was not in my best interest. It wasn't malicious. It was just, if you're not being a leader, then I'll be the leader, and that didn't work particularly well. So then I followed a path of horsemanship training with a trainer in Victoria. She coaches specifically for women with confidence, and I did a long journey with her, which was fantastic, and built my skill set up. But I didn't want to enter the horse, commercially into the horse world, because it's just a bit overwhelming to me. I'm just not prepared to have the conversations that happen out there.
Yeah. And, it's like everything, isn't it? You either align with it or you don't.
So I followed another path of equine assisted learning, and I've done a couple of workshops with a gentleman called Greg Kirsten from the US, who runs workshops called the OK Corral series.
Okay.
He's been heavily involved in equine assisted learning and equine assisted psychotherapy for a long time.
Because I guess that's really what it is, isn't it? Really working with horses the way you do, it's like psychotherapy to a certain degree.
Can be, but to be a psychotherapist, you have to have
that takes a lot different.
You have to, you delve into it more. I do equine assisted learning because I don't have to dig. I don't want to dig around in people's past. I want to help them move forward. Yeah, so we just talk about. I'm
all about the now too.
Yeah, see what's in front of us. Yep. Are you aware of that? We discuss it because it happens right in front of us, and it's factual. And then you can take away from that whatever works for you that helps you move forward.
Which I learned today. I learned that I needed to put some more boundaries in place.
You want to be the first one. Me too sometimes, just quietly.
Yeah. And that was just it was not even 20 minutes down there with the horses. And that just gives you an idea of what Lisa can do with you. And that wasn't even intended. We hadn't even intended to do that.
Not at all. Just occurred.
And I must admit, chatting with you previously, you have said to me that this just happens for people. Half the time they don't even know what that is actually something blocking them, and then all of a sudden that just pops up when you're working with the horses. And that was proof in the pudding today.
So that's the sort of thing I want to bring into those retreats I was talking about before. A short 3-day retreat here, and maybe a bigger, better 5-day retreat in some fancy place, with a big arena and maybe some accommodation and some really nice things going on. We'll add the journaling and the meditation into those, and give you a holistic way forward for something you can do practically that's exciting out in the paddock, and an experiential thing.
Yeah. And what if someone out there was watching this and went, wow, you're really interesting and I like that, but I'm scared shitless of horses.
So the point of it is not to face your fears necessarily, but to actually observe what you're afraid of. So if you were to come to a workshop and you didn't want to actually handle a horse, that would be fine.
Yep.
You could still learn from what's going on and offer your insights as well, because this is not a one-sided affair. Everyone has a voice and everyone is allowed to use it respectfully. And you could learn a lot. I've actually had a few people here who were frightened of horses, but the funny thing is, before the day's out, they're actually keen to get in and do it, supported. So it's always supported. If you are worried or concerned, you will be supported in whatever it is you want to do, because we are not here to decide what's the best thing for you. We are here to open your eyes to what you are capable of yourselves.
And I think that's one of the big things with anything holistically, isn't it? Anything holistically, and I say to people all the time, you know, I might have clients say, you healed me. I don't do healing. I don't save people's lives. I don't change people's lives. I give you the tools. And if you put in the effort, as you would know, Lisa, if you put in the effort, I say it all the time, you get out what you put in. That's as simple as it gets. And if you keep putting the same crap in, you're going to keep getting the same crap out.
Yeah.
Joe actually says, yeah, I'm scared of horses. So that's
Joe, it would be good for you to come and have a look and a feel, I reckon, and just see where your power lies and how you can bring your confidence to the surface, because a horse is no different to a person. I'm fairly sure if you're worried about horses, there are people in your life you're worried about too, about standing up to too. And you just learn to do it confidently because you set your own values. Once your values are in place,
that's right.
The rest should be easy.
Yep. And I thought I was a pretty strong person that set some pretty tough boundaries, actually. But I must admit, when it comes to animals, I am a bit of a pushover.
And that was exactly, like, I went into the arena for my first clinic with the Victorian trainer, and she said to me, like, the horse was rubbing on me and pushing me, and she said, would you take that from your kids? I went, hell no. And she said, well, why are you letting him do it? I had two different standards.
Yeah.
She said, maybe you want him to love you more. I don't know, but that's not how they work anyway. They want leadership. That's what they're looking for. Love is not, love really doesn't come into the scenario. It's all about what keeps me healthy and safe.
Yes.
And affection is probably after that.
Yes. Once you are comfortable in yourself, then the true affection comes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
As opposed to anything that's fake.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. But a horse is just looking for good leadership. And the day I spent in casualty with my husband, I hadn't shown him any leadership. I got on and the saddle had slipped and I was fiddle-farting around with that. My head wasn't even on the horse. And he went, well, if you're not telling me what to do, I'll go back to me buddies. And off he went. And I bounced off the side and landed head first. So it is about good leadership. And even the strong personalities, if you're prepared to show good leadership with a strong, let's say a strong lead mare, for example, she will trust you to do it until you don't. And then she will go, okay, now I have to step up.
Yep.
And her decisions are never in our best interest.
No,
I've heard that from my coach many times.
Yeah. And that's really interesting, because leadership in anything we do in our life, anything. If we, I know many people out there in their everyday jobs, if they don't get good leadership, one of the worst things that can happen to you is you actually all of a sudden, you don't feel like going, you become disengaged. And when you think about that, that just makes sense to me. If you don't get good leadership, you opt out.
And it's like you're not being heard.
Yes.
And if you've got no voice, why do you want to be there? Speaking of strong mares, there she goes.
She's beautiful, isn't she?
She is lovely.
I originally just was thinking that she was Truman, but no, she's very different.
Truman's bigger and hairier.
Okay. And he's down there, isn't he? I can see him.
Yes, he is. So,
wow.
Yeah. It's a lot about getting clarity on who you are and how you want to live your life, and then deliberately setting the steps in. They just help you see who you are.
Yeah.
And whether you're living the life you want is your decision, not anyone else's. They just help you see some stuff. You were talking before about people not even recognising that they had blockages, etc.
Yep.
When one of the horse training philosophies, if you like, is to help the horse see the gate. You know, you ask it to do something, and if it's freaking out, it can't see the gate. And I do that with people. I help them see the gate.
Yeah.
There's always a gate, and there's always more than one gate. You've just got to be able to see it.
And you've got to be able to calm yourself and come back within yourself to actually then be able to focus on seeing the gate.
Yeah. And then you get to choose which gate do you want to go through, which direction, which path.
Yes.
I can make anything into a horse analogy.
Yeah. Well, you know, we do see that you do. I mean, anyone that has 5 horses, they have to love them. That's a lot of effort.
It is a bit of effort, but I run them as a herd deliberately because it helps them integrate.
So what do you mean when you say you've used that terminology a fair bit now, when you run them as a herd, what does that mean? So
it means they live together as a group in the paddock.
Right.
Occasionally they'll come in and live in a stable or a yard, but effectively I run them as a family or a community together, so that they live as naturally as they can, even though they're in a restricted environment.
So seeing them, I've come here today, and I'll just swing you around. You can see Lisa's got lots of stables there, and the horses are over there. She's got lots of horse stuff that, you know, that's what you have to have when you have horses. And when they were there, so I'm guessing that was for us today, was it?
I brought them in. Sometimes they stay in. You know, sometimes they're getting a bit chubby out in the paddock, or the grass is too rich for them at certain times of year, etc. Or they need husbandry, you know, like things done with their teeth or their feet or whatever. So they are trained enough to be managed properly like that. Like they're trained to be handled, etc., like any other good horse is in our society. But I let them out into the paddock as a herd because they like to live as a community and as a group.
Oh, wow, that gives me confidence. That's really nice.
And it also helps to show behaviours that they have when we have our workshops or retreats, etc., so that you can see how they integrate as a group. And, you know, not always. There's a few times here, some of the teenagers that come here go, well, he's a bit of a loner. You ask them to, you know, talk about the horses. Well, he's a bit of a loner, and they'll be standing off to the side. A particular horse will be just resting on their own. But the next time they come, that horse is in the middle of everything. So it just shows you, like people, they need time out. They like to be involved at times, you know. They just...
It depends. They could be having a bad day.
Yeah. They just move in and out of things like we do. And it makes it much easier to hold a conversation on how our behaviours are affecting us and how we're fitting into a community or a society. And that could be your family, it could be a team, it could be your school, could be your workplace, you know. Absolutely. We're all in those little communities that work together, and we swing between them, don't we? So the horses are in the one community all the time. We've got to figure out how to deal with the family and the workplace and the football team and
whatever else we're doing. Absolutely. Oh wow, it's absolutely been fabulous here today, Lisa. And I'm, you know, as much as we had a part 1 and part 2, that's okay. We can go back to part 1 if you didn't get a chance to watch it, because part 1's pretty funny. We had the horses in with us, so, or I should say, we were in with the horses. We were in their space, and it was great. It was great fun. But it really is excellent, you know, coming out and seeing it. I'll just have a look and see what we've got here. We've got a few people online. So Joe says, does anyone have any questions while I'm just checking out the Facebook comments? Joe says, I'm hearing you about good leadership. That is what happened to me at work. And, yeah, that's exactly right, Joe. You become very disengaged very quickly, and the last place you want to be is at work. And that would be no different for the horses, I guess. They become very disengaged. And Alexa says, love the concept of the gate and what you can get from it. So that's a really good thing, and that's something really good to take away. Did anyone have any questions for Lisa in regard to her work or the horses? Well, I'm sure she's open to really answering anything. It's very exciting, and it's we were so worried when we were first chatting. We were like, what's the weather going to be like? What are we going to need? Speakers, you know, microphones, what's all that going to be like? You know, because I'm a pretty what would you say, rough as guts sort of video person here. This is like a little one-man show.
Let's call it impromptu.
And, you know, it just, the day's worked out perfect. It's had a fabulous day. We've had low wind. The internet's actually working. And, yes, we had a hiccup, but it was nothing that we couldn't bounce through. Doesn't look like anyone's got any questions.
Well, they can find me on Facebook or on my
Yes.
webpage if you've got any interest. And Joe, if you can convince your workplace, we do team building and,
She's
and
actually
leadership.
lucky to be retired now.
Ah, lucky you.
Yeah.
See, I've retired from a day job to this, so lucky me.
I know.
This
Yeah,
is
that's
what I wanted
right.
to be when I grew up.
I know. And people often say to me, I don't know what my life purpose is. And I say, stop focusing on what your life purpose is and live your bloody life. That's the most simplistic thing. And Lisa and I both are very lucky to be able to be living our bliss. We left our corporate jobs. We're now doing what we love most. So, Lisa, it's been absolutely a blast having you here today. Me coming to you, actually.
Well, thanks for coming and thanks for having me.
No, we will have to do it again. And
Yep.
maybe one day when you're actually working with the horses, I can come and stand outside and video you.
That'd be lovely.
Yeah, we might aim for that again.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, everybody.
So thank you all very much for joining us today. It's been another great session on the couch. This time we're in the paddock. So who knows, we might have to do some in the paddock sessions. So thank you very much. We've got low batteries going everywhere. Have a great afternoon. Have your fabulous week. We're now not back until Thursday. So tomorrow we've got our meditation sessions. It's not too late to get your ticket. You can book that online or just send me a message via my Facebook page. Wednesday I'm having a break because we're starting to transition ourselves. This was set up for COVID-19. And so as we're starting to be out and about a bit more, you'll see less and less of these sessions. And Thursday we have the beautiful Carmel Wells. Friday we have Ali Marley. Both have very interesting stories, both very same but different stories. So take care, be kind, be beautiful because life is amazing. Look at this weather here. Take care. Bye for now. Thanks, Lisa.